dead. Infected.
What if the world didn't end with a bang, but with a scream? One bite, one drop of blood, and in seconds, you're no longer human. That's the terrifying reality of the 28 Days Later universe. A brutal, relentless saga of survival, betrayal, and rage. Now, with 28 years later on the horizon, it's time to revisit the terrifying origins of the rage virus. It all began with a single act of compassion gone horribly wrong. A virus engineered to amplify aggression escaped the lab, spread like wildfire, and turned the United Kingdom into a dystopian nightmare. 2 movies later, 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, we're left with a world on the brink and a few broken survivors trying to hold on to hope. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Here's everything you need to know before 28 years later arrives. Let's go back to the very beginning.
Lastly, meet Mela.
28 Days Later, 2002. In a dark Cambridge laboratory, animal rights activists break in to free chimpanzees subjected to horrific experiments. A scientist warns them not to proceed. The chimps are infected with a rage-inducing virus, but they ignore him. And when one chimp is released, it immediately attacks. One activist is infected within seconds. Becoming violently aggressive, she attacks the others. In mere minutes, the virus escapes the lab. It spreads uncontrollably across Britain, leading to a complete breakdown of civilization. 28 days later, bicycle courier Jim awakens in St. Thomas's Hospital in the heart of London. He's been in a coma since an accident and now finds himself utterly alone. Wandering the eerily empty streets, he discovers a city in ruin, abandoned cars, scattered belongings, and silence stretch for miles. In a church, he stumbles across a pile of bodies, and then, horrifyingly, the infected. Their eyes bleed, their speed is inhuman, and their rage is unstoppable. Just as he's about to be overwhelmed, 2 survivors, Selena and Mark, rescue him. They explain what's happened. The virus has wiped out nearly the entire population. They're surviving by moving constantly and avoiding any contact with the infected. Jim asks them to accompany him to his parents' home in Deptford. What he finds there is heartbreaking. His parents took their own lives, leaving behind a note. With endless love, we left you sleeping. That night, they stay in the house. But Jim makes a critical mistake. He lights a candle. The light attracts the infected. A bloody confrontation erupts, and Mark is bitten. Without hesitation, Selena kills him. She tells Jim the virus spreads too quickly to risk sympathy. If you get bitten, you die or get killed immediately. No exceptions. Later, Jim and Selena spot blinking Christmas lights in a nearby tower block. There, they meet Frank, a kind-hearted cab driver, and his teenage daughter, Hannah. Frank shows them a military radio broadcast promising safety and a cure at a blockade near Manchester. With no better option, the 4 of them pile into Frank's taxi and head out of the city. The journey is treacherous. Abandoned highways, tunnels filled with stalled cars, and fields littered with corpses. They bond during the journey. Jim, once just a frightened bystander, begins to transform into a protector. Eventually, they reach the blockade, but it's deserted. No sign of any soldiers, just silence. As Frank examines the area in frustration, a single drop of infected blood falls from a corpse above and lands in his eye. The infection takes hold instantly. He pleads with Hannah to stay back, knowing what's coming. Soldiers suddenly appear and shoot him dead. The military had been watching all along. Jim, Selena, and Hannah are taken to a fortified mansion run by Major Henry West and his men. At first, it seems like a safe haven. They're offered food, showers, and rest. But things quickly take a sinister turn. West reveals the truth. His broadcast was a trap to lure women. The soldiers are desperate. They want to repopulate the world, and they plan to do it by force. Jim refuses to allow this. So does Sergeant Farrell, who believes the infection is temporary and the world outside Britain may still be intact. West doesn't tolerate dissent. He orders both of them executed. Farrell is killed, but Jim escapes into the woods. He spots a contrail in the sky, a jet flying overhead, proof that the world beyond Britain still exists. Humanity isn't extinct, just isolated. Jim returns to the mansion with a plan. He unleashes Private Mailer, a chained infected soldier being used for observation. Chaos erupts as the infected Mailer turns on the soldiers. Jim rescues Selena and Hannah. When one of the remaining soldiers tries to harm Selena, Jim kills him in a violent frenzy. Covered in blood, he turns to Selena. She hesitates, wondering if he's been infected. but when he doesn't attack, she realizes he's still human. She kisses him, relieved. The three attempt to escape in Frank's taxi, but West appears and shoots Jim. Hannah, thinking fast, reverses the car. Mailer pulls West through the back window and tears him apart. They escape. 28 days later, Jim recovers at a countryside cottage in Cumbria. The infected are dying of starvation. There's hope again. As a jet flies overhead, the trio spreads a cloth on the ground that reads, "Hello." They wave, hoping someone will see them and respond. 28 weeks later, 2007. 6 months have passed. The infected have all starved. The virus is dormant. NATO has intervened and begun restoring order. The US Army establishes District 1 on the Isle of Dogs in London. It's heavily guarded and completely sealed from the outside world. But before we get there, we rewind to the early days of the outbreak. Don, his wife Alice, and a group of survivors take refuge in a countryside cottage. One night, they hear a boy banging on the door. They let him in. Moments later, the infected arrive. Chaos ensues. Alice refuses to abandon the boy, but Don chooses to flee, leaving her behind as he escapes on a boat. Back in the present, Don has been reunited with his children, Tammy and Andy, who were abroad when the outbreak happened. He lies to them about their mother, claiming she died. The family tries to rebuild inside District 1, where strict protocols are in place. Among the military overseeing operations is Sergeant Doyle, a sharp-eyed sniper who begins to suspect things are not as secure as they seem. Tammy and Andy sneak out of the safe zone and return to their old home to retrieve a cherished photo. There, they discover something unbelievable. Alice is alive. She's infected, but not in the usual way. She has no symptoms. She's an asymptomatic carrier, just like Andy would later become. The children are taken back to the safe zone, and Alice is quarantined. Medical officer Scarlett realizes Alice's blood may hold the key to a cure. But when Don sneaks into the lab to see Alice, he kisses her. It's a tragic mistake. He becomes infected instantly and murders her in a savage frenzy. Don's infection spreads through the compound like wildfire. Within minutes, the safe zone becomes a war zone. The virus is back, and it's faster than ever. General Stone, realizing the containment has failed, issues code red, shoot anyone on sight, infected or not. Scarlett rescues Tammy and Andy, believing Andy may carry his mother's immunity. She tries to lead them out of District 1, dodging firebombs, snipers, and the infected. Doyle, horrified by the order to kill civilians, abandons his post and joins them. As they flee, they're caught in a firebombing raid. They barely survive, but Sam, another survivor, is infected during a brutal scene involving a helicopter rotor slicing through a crowd. Flynn, a pilot who is supposed to rescue Doyle, demands he come alone, but Doyle insists on saving the children and Scarlett. They make it to a car and try to escape the gas attacks, but it won't start. Doyle sacrifices himself to push the car and is burned alive by flamethrowers. Scarlett leads the kids into the London Underground, using a night vision scope to navigate the pitch-black tunnels. But Don is still alive, and he's hunting them. He kills Scarlett in front of Andy. Then he bites Andy, transferring the virus, but Andy doesn't turn. Like his mother, he's immune. Tammy is forced to kill her own father to save her brother. Eventually, the children reach Wembley Stadium, where Flynn reluctantly agrees to evacuate them. The nightmare appears to be over, but 28 days later, a radio signal in Flynn's abandoned helicopter reveals a chilling twist. A French voice pleads for help. Infected figures begin to pour out of a Paris metro station. The rage virus has crossed the channel. Europe is no longer safe.
Where's Doyle?
Our nerdy thoughts. From a lab in Cambridge to the heart of Paris, the rage virus has proven unstoppable. 28 days later and 28 weeks later showed us the brutal collapse of society and the fragile humanity of those who tried to survive it. Now, 28 years later promises to take us deeper than ever before, with new mutations, new survivors, and the original creators returning. The next chapter in the saga could be the most terrifying yet. So whether you're a longtime fan or just discovering the series, one thing is certain: the rage virus isn't done with us yet. Stay alert, stay alive, and get ready for 28 years later.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.